The Michael Loop, Chapter 1, The Time Machine Unveiled. Michael Morgan had always been a quiet dreamer, a mechanic by day in Merrick, NY. By night, he spent 12 years in his backyard shed, building a time machine inspired by science fiction and curiosity about his father's past. On January 20th, 2025, his secret project was done, cobbled together with wires, gears, and salvage parts. He set the machine's destination, 1977, the year his father, Anthony Morgan, was a senior at Half Hollow Hills High School East. The machine powered up, deafening and brilliant. In an instant, Michael was gone. He arrived in an empty field near the high school in Dix Hills, NY. The air smelled fresher, the world simpler. To fit in, he threw on a denim jacket. Flagging down a cab, he directed the driver. "You visiting someone?" "Yeah," Michael replied, "an old friend." At the school, students wore bell-bottom jeans and feathered hair, like a time capsule. Entering the main office, he asked to see Principal Dr. Eugene Orloff. The secretary called the principal, who looked just like the black and white photo in the yearbook. "I'm looking for Anthony Morgan," Michael said. Dr. Orloff hesitated, then called Coach Sal de Blasi, skeptical of this stranger's request. Coach Riccio chimed in, "Anthony's in the locker room getting ready for tonight's match. I'll take you to him." In the locker room, Anthony laced up his wrestling shoes. "Anthony," Coach Riccio called, "someone here wants to talk to you." Anthony frowned. "Who are you?" Michael took a deep breath. "My name is Michael. Michael Morgan. I'm from the future, and I'm your son." Anthony burst out laughing. "Yeah, right. Is this some kind of prank?" "It's not a joke," Michael insisted, showing his iPhone with pictures of them together in the future, Adventureland, Atlantic City. Anthony's laughter faded. What is this? How did you do this?" "It's real," Michael said softly. "I came back to meet you to see who you were before I was born." Suddenly, Anthony's teammate James Metzger, star running back, approached. "Hey Al," James said, sizing up Michael. "This guy bothering you?" "No," Anthony replied, still stunned. "He's family." Michael knew he couldn't stay long. "I have to go," he said. "What? Why?" asked Anthony. "I need to get back. I left something important waiting for me. Cream cheese and jelly crackers." Anthony blinked but didn't stop him as Michael hurried out. Back at the field, Michael activated the machine and returned to 2025. Stepping into the house, he found cream cheese and jelly crackers waiting, but something was off. His father was at the kitchen table. "How'd it go?" Anthony asked. Michael froze. "What do you mean? You went back to meet me in high school today." "I remember it like it was yesterday." Jaw-dropping, Michael realized. His father knew. He remembered meeting his future son in 1977. "Dad, if you knew this whole time, why didn't you ever tell me?" Anthony leaned back. "Because some things are better left for you to discover on your own." Anthony reached into his pocket and pulled out an old photograph. A teenage Anthony with someone looking exactly like Michael, but older. "What is this?" Michael whispered. Anthony smiled. "You're not done yet." Michael realized his journey through time had deeper layers left to uncover. Unable to sleep, Michael obsessed over the photograph. Was that really him? Older? Maybe in his 80s? What was he doing in 1977 again? What should he do next? The time machine hummed outside as he gazed through his window. He grabbed a flashlight and went to the shed, noticing a small compartment he didn't remember installing. Inside, a piece of yellowed paper, handwriting like his own. The note read, "Michael, if you're reading this, it means you've taken your first step into something far bigger than you realize. There's more to this than meeting Dad in high school. You're part of a loop, a cycle that has to be completed for everything to make sense. Go back to 1977 again. This time, find Metzger. He's the key." Stunned, Michael reread the note. He didn't know how or when he'd written it, or why Metzger was so important. Back to 1977. The next morning, he packed a bag. Water, snacks, notebook, portable battery. He set the machine for October 15th, 1977, hours after meeting his younger father. The flash of light, and he was back. He entered the school during lunch. Students everywhere. Spotting James Metzger, he called, "Metzger!" James turned, puzzled. "You again? What do you want?" "I need to talk to you." James nodded, cautious. "All right. What's this about?" Michael, lowering his voice, said, "This is going to sound insane. I'm from the future." James raised an eyebrow, silent. "I came here because, well, apparently you're important. I don't know why yet, but I think you're connected to something big." James smirked. "You've got my attention." "What kind of big are we talking about?" Michael hesitated, then showed his iPhone images of futuristic tech, explaining the time machine. To his surprise, James was thoughtful, not mocking. "You know, I've always felt like there was something different about me. What do you mean? Michael asked. James leaned in. Sometimes I get these dreams about things that haven't happened yet, but then they do. Michael's eyes widened. You're seeing the future? I guess so, James shrugged, but it's not always clear. It's like pieces of a puzzle I can't put together. Now that I think about it, you look like someone from my dream last night. You and a woman fighting a cyborg. Michael felt a chill. Did Metzger's glimpses connect to his time travel? At least I thought it was a dream, said James. But when I woke up, my bookshelf was destroyed. Like someone was thrown into it. Your bookshelf? Michael asked. Before he could ask more, Anthony appeared. Michael? Anthony said, shocked. What are you doing here again? Michael froze. He hadn't planned on seeing his father yet. Anthony was suspicious. What's going on? James grinned. Your friend here says he's from the future. Anthony rolled his eyes, but remembered the first meeting. What are you really doing here? He asked. Michael sighed. He handed Anthony the note from the compartment. Anthony read, looking up. You wrote this? Apparently, Michael admitted. Anthony handed the note back, shaking his head. So what now? I don't know yet, Michael said honestly. But I think Metzger is part of it. James raised an eyebrow but didn't protest. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed. Students screamed as someone bolted down the hallway. That guy, James shouted, pointing. What about him? Michael asked. I've seen him before, in one of my dreams, James exclaimed. Without thinking, the three chased the fleeing figure through the school and into nearby woods. Michael sensed this moment was part of something bigger, with mysteries spanning past and future. For Michael Morgan, this was only just beginning. Michael Morgan, his teenage father Anthony, and James Metzger sprinted into the woods behind Half Hollow Hills High School East, chasing a mysterious figure who had shattered the trophy case. The man was unnaturally fast and seemed to know exactly where he was going. Michael's heart pounded as he struggled to keep up, his mind racing with questions. Who was this man? How did James recognize him from a dream? And why did it feel like this moment was meant to happen? Come on, James shouted, darting through the trees. Anthony followed close behind, determined. Michael, less accustomed to running, trailed behind but refused to give up. He wasn't just chasing a man, he was chasing answers. They finally cornered the stranger in a small clearing. The man stood with his back to them, breathing heavily. He wore a dark jacket and jeans, but something about him seemed off. His movements were jerky, almost mechanical. When he turned to face them, Michael felt a chill run down his spine. The man's eyes glowed faintly blue. What the hell? Anthony muttered, stepping back. James narrowed his eyes. I've seen you before, he said firmly. In my dreams. The stranger tilted his head, studying them like a predator sizing up its prey. Then, in a voice both human and robotic, he said,
You shouldn't be here.
Michael stepped forward cautiously. Who are you? What do you mean we shouldn't be here? The man didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a strange device. A sleek metallic object with glowing symbols that Michael didn't recognize, but instinctively knew was dangerous. Get down! Michael shouted as the man aimed the device at them. A beam of light shot out, narrowly missing Anthony and hitting a tree behind him. The tree disintegrated instantly, leaving nothing but ash. Run! James yelled, but Michael didn't move. Something about the device caught his eye. It looked eerily similar to components he had used in his time machine. Could this man be connected to it? Was he from the future too? Before Michael could react, James tackled the stranger to the ground with surprising force. The device flew from the man's hand and landed near Michael's feet. Grab it! James shouted as he wrestled with the man. Michael hesitated for only a moment before scooping up the device. It felt warm in his hands, almost alive. James had pinned the stranger to the ground while Anthony stood nearby with a large branch in hand, ready to defend them if necessary. Who are you? Michael demanded again, holding up the device. The man's glowing blue eyes flickered as he struggled against James's grip.
I am an observer,
he said haltingly.
Sent back from the year 2073 to correct anomalies.
What anomalies? Anthony asked sharply. The man's eyes locked onto Michael.
Him,
he said simply.
He is not supposed to exist.
Michael felt like the ground had been pulled out from under him. What do you mean I'm not supposed to exist? The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, his body began to convulse violently as sparks flew from his skin. Michael realized the truth. The man wasn't entirely human. He was some kind of cyborg or android sent from the future. He's short-circuiting, James shouted as he jumped back. The stranger let out one final burst of energy before collapsing into a lifeless heap. His glowing eyes dimmed until they were completely dark. There was silence as all three stared at the motionless figure. What just happened? Anthony asked finally. Michael knelt beside the body and examined it. Beneath what appeared to be human skin were intricate circuits and wires. Technology far beyond anything that should exist in 1977 or even 2025. I think, Michael began slowly. He was sent here because of me. James frowned. Why would someone or something want to stop you? Michael held up the device again. Because I'm part of something bigger than I realized. And whoever or whatever sent him doesn't want me to figure out what that is. As they made their way back through the woods, Michael explained everything. How he had built a time machine in 2025, traveled back to meet Anthony and now James, and how this encounter seemed to confirm forces at play beyond anything he imagined. Anthony listened but seemed skeptical. James took it all in stride. So what now? James asked as they reached the edge of the woods. Michael looked at them with newfound resolve. Now we figure out why I'm part of this loop, and who sent that guy, and why they're so afraid of me. Anthony smirked. You've got guts showing up here like this. If you really are my son, well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. James clapped Michael on the shoulder. Looks like we're in this together now. As they walked back toward the school grounds under the fading sun, Michael couldn't help but feel this was just the beginning of something much larger. A journey across time and space, confronting truths about his past, present, and future that he wasn't sure he was ready for. But one thing was certain. He wouldn't face it alone. Anthony turned around and saw black smoke rising from deep within the woods, but kept it to himself. The walk back to school was filled with tense silence. Michael, Anthony, and James replayed the events, the glowing-eyed stranger, the futuristic device, and cryptic warnings about Michael's existence. The weight pressed heavily on Michael's shoulders. He had built the time machine to explore the past, to satisfy curiosity, but now he realized he was part of something far more dangerous. As they reached the school grounds, Michael stopped abruptly. I can't go back in there, he said. Anthony frowned. Why not? Because I've already messed up enough, Michael admitted. I don't know how much damage I've done to the timeline just by being here. James crossed his arms. Well, you're here now, so what's the plan? You can't just run off without figuring out what's going on. Michael hesitated, glancing at the device still clutched in his hand. It hummed faintly, as if alive, energy pulsing through him. Whatever it was, it held answers. I need to figure out how this works, Michael said, holding up the device. Maybe it can tell us more about who sent that thing after me. Anthony looked skeptical. And how exactly are you going to do that? You're not in your high-tech future anymore, Michael thought before an idea struck him. There's someone who might be able to help. But it's risky. James raised an eyebrow. Risky how? If I'm right about this device, it's decades ahead of its time. But someone in 1977 might be able to make sense of it. Someone brilliant. Anthony tilted his head. Who are you talking about? Michael hesitated. Dr. Emmett Klein. Dr. Emmett Klein was a reclusive physicist and inventor, a genius ahead of his time, and a bit eccentric. Michael had read about him in old articles during research for building the time machine. Klein had disappeared mysteriously in the early 1980s, but was known for advanced energy and quantum physics experiments. I read about him in the future, Michael explained as they walked to a payphone to call a cab. He was working on energy manipulation theories long before anyone else. And you think he can figure out that thing? James asked, nodding toward the device. If anyone can, it's him, Michael said confidently. They used Anthony's cash to take a cab to Dr. Klein's residence, a modest house on the outskirts, surrounded by overgrown trees and a rusty chain-link fence. The place looked abandoned, but faint machinery sounds came from inside. Michael knocked hesitantly. After a long pause, the door creaked open slightly, revealing an older man with wild gray hair and thick glasses perched on his nose. He peered at them suspiciously. Who are you? Dr. Klein asked sharply. My name is Michael Morgan, Michael began nervously. I need your help. Dr. Klein frowned but didn't close the door. Help with what? Michael held up the device. Its faint glow caught Klein's attention immediately. Where did you get that? Klein demanded, tone shifting from suspicion to curiosity. It's complicated, Michael admitted. Klein opened the door wider and gestured for them to come inside. You'd better explain everything. Inside was a chaotic wonderland of half-finished inventions, stacks of papers covered in equations, and quiet buzzing contraptions. It smelled faintly of oil and ozone. Klein led them to a cluttered workbench and motioned for Michael to place the device there. This is unlike anything I've ever seen, Klein muttered, examining it with a magnifying glass. Where did you say you got this? I didn't, Michael said carefully. Klein shot him a sharp look but didn't press further. As Klein worked, Anthony whispered to Michael, Are you sure this guy isn't crazy? Probably, Michael whispered back with a grin. But sometimes crazy is exactly what we need. After nearly an hour of tinkering and muttering, Klein stepped back triumphantly. "This isn't just technology," he said excitedly. "It's future technology, decades ahead of anything we have today." Michael nodded grimly. "I know." Klein looked at him sharply but decided against asking more questions. "This device appears to be some kind of multi-dimensional energy manipulator," Klein continued quickly. "It can tap into different points in space-time, like opening windows into other realities or timelines." Michael felt a chill. Was this how the cyborg stranger tracked him? Was this device linked to his time machine? "But here's where it gets interesting," Klein added, pointing at a glowing symbol on the device's surface. "This symbol, it's not just decorative. It's part of an access code or signature." "What does that mean?" James asked. "It means whoever built this left their mark. It's like a fingerprint, a way of identifying the creator." Michael leaned closer and felt his stomach drop when he recognized it. It was his symbol, the same one etched onto parts of his time machine during construction. "This doesn't make sense," Michael whispered. "What doesn't?" Anthony asked. "This symbol, it's mine," Michael said shakily. Anthony frowned in confusion. James looked alarmed. "You're saying you built this thing?" James asked incredulously. "I don't know. Maybe, but if I did, why would someone, or something I created, come after me?" Dr. Klein observed silently before interjecting. "If this is your work, or will be, there's something else you should know." "What?" Michael asked warily. Klein pointed at a faintly glowing panel pulsing like a heartbeat. "This isn't just technology," Klein said gravely. "It's alive." The room fell silent. "Alive?" Anthony repeated skeptically. "Not alive like us, but aware, purposeful." Michael stared at the device, memories of his older self's warning about completing the loop rising, about stopping something before it was too late. Whatever this device was, it wasn't just some random invention gone wrong. It was part of him, and now he had no choice but to figure out why, before time itself unraveled around him.